In between your phone orientation and my internet, we've been a quite the pair for technology today.
Man, listen, we're fighting through the technical difficulties, and I don't know if it's because we have the that man's name on the screen or what, but either way, we're gonna fight through this. But so, Coach, I'm glad you allowed me to break this soon and sooner. But guys, this has been something fighting with me for a little bit. Again, I want to get into the journey of all of what I kind of laid out, but I want to go back to that video, Coach, first before we go there. So, so your thoughts on the video? Because again, mine were like, he nailed it. Like it's that easy. It really is that easy. Like no matter what you're doing, if somewhere down the line somebody's losing, somebody's not benefiting, that it's hurting somebody, then you're doing evil in some way. And there, there's a lot of that coming to light. There's a lot of that being shown in the world. Now, is that ever going to end everything? No. But I think this is where we simply need to draw the line, kind of like David Perez said. This is where the convictions, the views, the idea, where you stand on, are you on the side of good, or are you okay bending the rules for certain things or whatever? And that's what Elon's all about. Is he's more than he's about humanity. I mean, he says it in the thing. He says he at one point you could tell he was flustered a little bit and when it first started going, and he said GFY to begin with, but he says humanity will decide. They'll be the judge. Like that's how deeply he believes that again, most people are good in the end. But now is the time that we have to draw that line again. Like, okay, are you on the side of good or are you on the side of evil? Like that's just, and you got to debate your sides strong one way or another. You have to debate what you believe.
So the whole setup to that was very interesting, and that we didn't see today in that video. But the what he was talking about, it was this whole idea, because people aren't just bending the rules. What people are doing is portraying good, but actually not doing good at all. Portraying good, but doing the opposite. They'll do things because it's what the societal norm is, that says if you do this, then you're on the right side of whatever the issue is. So I'll put the right, as long as you have the right emoji or the right whatever in your bio. Oh, I'm changing the world. He's saying no, you're not. He took basically the Roosevelt quote about the man in the arena with the blood and the sweat and the marred face that errs and then tries again. He's taken that up to a whole nother level with this. And so what he talked about it, because I've been, and if you look at him historically, he's not a right winger. He was never right wing. He was a left wing
Never,
hero.
never, always. Yeah.
And with everything he had done, he was a left wing hero until he decided to defend free speech and took a stand. And once that day happened, now there's 100 lawsuits against him. There's a lawsuit against SpaceX because he's not hiring enough illegal immigrants. And it's got
Yeah.
to be the most ridiculous thing in the history of the world. He's hiring too many American citizens. And so there's a federal lawsuit against him. So they're coming at him with every barrel because he stood up and took a stand about actually doing good and not just having the appearance of doing good. And it's absolutely astounding to watch.
And that's where again nobody will ever be able to take the shoes of Jesus, but and so I don't want anybody to ever think like that's what I portray by these other people, but I think that's where like Dana White standing up against Peloton, these other people standing up against like your Elon against Disney. A lot of these people go back to Jesus. There was people who followed him who had to endure the same things. Again, we can't be as cruel, although in other countries there's still as evil things going on as you hear of stories in the Bible of somebody's family, one of the followers, because they wouldn't say to the Romans that it was not true. And again, like if people just heard the stories of a person and didn't tie deeply more than that, and just assume that it was historical stories of Jesus and nothing more, and he was just a person that at the time walking on the planet, a person, and don't tie any deeper to that, though they can understand it's the same thing going on today. I mean, it's families
Well,
getting run through
it's
things.
not just overseas. It's not just overseas. All of a
No,
sudden,
no.
we live in a country where on a college campus, you can form a mob, storm a building saying death to all Jews, and the president of the university is going to stand up for that and not for the speech that's threatening annihilation of an entire group of people.
And,
It's just completely turned sideways.
and that's where we have to draw the line, I think, and that's where these views have to be talked about more. But again, I think why I love Elon and where I think he hits the nail on the head, and what my journey was so hard, and why I think there's so much confusion, or it's so hard to, if you're a person who really is good and you really compare yourself a lot to, especially like me, I didn't realize, like I started this, I didn't realize until John Hewitt, hearing him say over and over a few times, Jesus is his mentor. And then it was funny, Maggie said, well, I would say that's probably your mentor. And then, I didn't know that from just going to private school, that listening to these stories made me believe that there was, this person, this amazing person, but then seeing everybody else, I had so many doubts because I seen everybody else that then I started to bend the rules for me. But then, like, the biggest hate I had or judgment was me. And then, but as I was judging other people, me, and then it was really until John that it was like, listen, everybody, there's nobody who could do that. Like, we all have the same problems. No matter what anything looks on the outside, we're all battling the same things. And that's where the feeding the good wolf, the battle of two wolves, the evil versus the good, the heart being God, Jesus, everything that's good, made a lot of sense. Like, okay, everything else, there's so many different rules. And here's where I'm talking about. And again, I might be guilty of this, but here, the 10 Commandments, they're very simple. We don't even have to go to US laws, these laws, that laws, every man-made man idea or opinion. We just go to very simple 10 rules. And even these are very hard to follow for a lot of people. And I'll be honest, for myself was, because again, God and who God, well, it has to sound like a fairy tale or misbelief, or like they've made everything else to believe. But so then where, again, me being simple, this is even more simple. Well, then there's the 7 deadly sins. Let's just talk about those: lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, envy, pride, and there you go. And so, very,
I've got a couple of those mastered.
exactly. And that's where it was to me. Okay, well, you boil that down even simpler. That's simple for me. And we all battle every one of those probably and are guilty of, even like Elon and what you said about getting the work done. Sloth is one of the, if you have a lot of money and you're just enjoying all of your money and showing the world your money and not really giving anything back to the world, like Elon is talking about, then you're not benefiting anybody. You're not giving your gift. You're not actually doing anything for anyone.
You asked me Tuesday a question about franchising in general. You said, what is it that new folks come in, what do they not do, or what do they do that turns them sideways? Well, John kind of simplified that. He would say, well, did you do everything your parents told you to do? Do you do everything your God tells you to do? And the answer is always no. He goes, well, then why would you
No,
listen to me? Why would you listen to a
exactly.
friend?
But and see, it's John simply, and that's what John's such amazing at too, is he can simplify very simple ideas. And again, that's why I can't wait to have him on the 19th. So I mean, it's going to be fun to talk about that. But
So
he
and
understands the
from the religion standpoint, where I come from. I believe in God the Creator. I believe in a God that is bigger than time, space, matter. He's not constricted by any of those things. It's a creator of everything. He is, he was, he always will be. And I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. He was born, he was crucified, he rose again after 3 days, and that's who I follow. And every day, what Christianity should be about is about a transformation, so that when you choose to take that path, people don't have to question. I wonder if this guy's a Christian or not. It should be plainly evident because we're doing good. We're not just talking about good, we're actually doing good. And that's where I come from on this whole topic from the religious side of things.
And I love that, Coach. And that's, and I'll say that was the battle for me was, again, born and raised Catholic, going to, I took a theology or religion class my entire, even into college. I went to a private college too that was Franciscan in Illinois. So I mean, even there, I had some sort of theology or religion class. So hearing the stories were always amazing. But again, I think that's where I figured out, there's a lot of, and I think that's where I love this whole tie that's kind of the world is and faith again. I was Tracy Lamb said, where we have those things going on in talks with the Caregivers Worldwide network and that. But she said, you're a person of faith, and it's funny, for a long time that was like an ew, don't say that to me, because like to me that was like somebody preaching down on people in a very judging, or like a very like they aren't doing or aren't guilty of the same things, and that's what a lot of the Catholic world kind of seemed like. But then I came from, again, my world or entry into that world was a tough one, because my parents, my dad was only 18 when he had me. My mom was 20. They had old school traditions and ideas of the world that once existed, that hopefully sometime will exist again. But where one parent worked, the parents, the family foundation was the foundation of the family, not some daycare or school or some ideas. And again, that's what the government figured out. That's why they went after the schools, and they're going after the kids. They're easy to, and again, biology belief. I believe that with gold, the power of what Bruce Lipton says of the Jesuits, of show me a man, give me a boy till the age of 7, and I'll show you the man. It's obvious. There's one man in some way that that the family or the child is looking up to throughout that period, and so like I seen the harder world of that, because we were poor kind of on purpose, is like I like to say, because my dad worked like crazy. If he didn't have a job, he then was working on people's cars, side jobs, and everything. So he was always working, and I was usually with him or my brothers or whoever. And but so we were like, I always felt like an outcast or an outsider to begin with, because the other parents way older, way older, way more established, a whole different world for a majority of them. And again, that's what drove me to have kids young. And I mean, I have 5 kids. I have a second grandchild on the way. Like, I'm 43 years old. And what's crazy is I had that, and this is one thing. Shout out to Bo, and Bo, but I was just on his podcast yesterday, and that'll probably be releasing soon. But literally talking about this is kind of what spurred this more. But it was that journey, though, that it was so confusing to hear again these amazing stories, these people then that I should be looking up to, that financially and other worlds they seem better or in a better position than my world seemed, but at the same time they seem to always be doing this. And so I ended up again then 25 years old, 20 then 7 I think is when I was baptized LDS Mormon, because of the guy just a few years older than me, Brian Pace, shout out to Brian, and really my first mentor. But he was LDS, and the whole corporate office of Revive Wireless was from Utah. So Salt Lake City, amazing place I got to see, really amazing. But it was so many lessons and that's where I really connected first the dots of, okay, like there are people that really do follow this a little bit deeper. But then that's where then my internal battle and the good wolf kind of connected everything, because then I see these people, and again, I'm not pointing out, and I'm never going to judge anybody. I figured that out from John Hewitt and the Shack. But literally, see people who are very judgmental, and you can feel the judgment almost, to going to the LDS where there was no titles, there was no pedestals, there were volunteers, which the government should be, which a lot of other things should be, but they're volunteers, and so like nobody had any authority over anybody in the way that people believe, and they were all usually very financially successful, so they had a strong foundation there too of understanding things, and so it's like, man, okay, yeah, like these are my people. Like I understand, but then it was an inward guilt of, okay, but I drink alcohol socially sometimes. I drink caffeine, and although never once was anybody at any point standing like again I felt for the most part Catholics did, pointing down like you shouldn't do this, you go away, you're evil, you know. For the LDS church, I felt like that to myself. That I was like, oh man, I'm not as good as these people. Like I can't go and get this good feeling, this good energy. Because again, that's what it is in the end. Like it's being around amazing people with the same views, the same world that they want to live in, and that vibration, that feeling you get, that's what church is really about and supposed to be about, and nothing more than that. Not money and not anything else. But it literally is that's what it's supposed to be. And I felt like I was stealing that then. So then I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm not like them. And so then it was, okay, maybe I don't have a religion. Maybe I'm not like a religion. Maybe I just believe every religion. And then, like I said, then it was Agnandino. Well, okay, I'm a big movie person. So the prestige then clicked right into my head. And then there's been other religions or ideas or people who study theology in some way that the book of Timothy was the hidden book, and supposedly he's the twin brother of Jesus and he's doubting Thomas in other people's beliefs. Is that true? I have no idea. And listen, I don't question anybody. That's, I think, what my biggest issue is. I'm like, hey, that sounds believable. I can get behind that. And so that's what I figured out was my gift is belief, and belief in other people more, and then I had to really figure out how to believe in myself. But it was then Matthew McConaughey and The Good Wolf, and it's like, oh, hold on, that's a crappy feeling I feel every time, like I'm judging the crap out of myself because I know I did something I said I wouldn't do again, or I knew I did this or whatever, and then I was like, okay, well, yeah, and I found out from 23andMe. Again, and any Hispanic religion, according to a African American gentleman. I don't want to be called out in any way bad, but this dude said this. According to him, was the difference between Mexicans and Puerto Ricans are Puerto Ricans are Hispanic with a African descent in some way, or that descent, and Mexicans are Hispanic with some sort of Indian or Cherokee or American Indian in some way. And 23andMe, Stony, if you're listening to this, you were right, man. Because I found out like indigenous was like almost as much as the Mexican in me. And so I'm like, okay, I didn't know that, but that's pretty interesting. And so then it really like tied, okay, I can really get behind like the Good Wolf thing, Cherokee Indian story. And then it's very simple to me. Just do the right thing. Like, what is good? What is evil? Okay, is my heart making me do this? Or is something up here that is one of those 7 deadly sins telling me, hey, yeah, maybe bend the rules and do this. It's okay this time because everybody else is doing it.
So you're on this path of a spiritual journey. You're seeking your spiritual purpose through all of this. And so what would you say you're doing now to strengthen and build your spiritual growth, I guess?
Good question. So honestly, it was literally John Hewitt. John Hewitt was the key to it all. It was he, and it's crazy to say that. Hopefully, he feels super excited about that because I mean, it really was him. But it was a mixture of things throughout this journey. Again, I think, Carl Jung. Just seen a quote from him saying life doesn't start till the age of 40 or something like that, and then Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil. He says age of 40 is the age of wisdom or something, the age of 50 years. I mean, he gives time ideas. I don't think that's real.
That goes along with the perpetual transmutation of sexual energy or whatever the chapter is.
Exactly. And I don't believe that either. I think that was, they're thinking there has, I don't think there's a number. A lot of the beliefs, again, I'm 43 and a grandpa. The whole reason I wanted that to begin with, I had that feeling since I was a kid. I thought it was the greatest thing that like my dad was young, and I thought like, because I never got to see my great grandparents. I didn't even, my grandpa died on my mom's side when I was 10. And so like, you know, that whole idea of like great grandparents seeing grandkids, this kind of stuff was like, man, that's what I want. And it was like stuck in me for life, obviously, because without a doubt, I'm sure that that's going to happen for me. But it really was, with John Hewitt though, and back to that and to your question though, it was the shack. It was that talk with him and Martha, and I'm wearing the Believe shirt, and he says, "You believe," and it's funny because it was almost like he knew, like the past 2 years, and again, I'm sure a lot of people my age, close to my age, in their 40s or anywhere close to that, COVID especially made you, and made a lot of people question or think a lot of things. And it was again my last comfort zone, the right timing of things. I mean, at that time, I had a pretty decent passive income business with the logistics that I was toying with the flea market and all kinds of other things. But it was then the world stopping, and then like, okay, now what? And then really like more digging deeper, and then finally it was first connecting the dots that I needed people. And it was when COVID kind of broke up and I started networking again. I was like, okay, everything I was listening to, everything I was believing, like I knew was connecting the dots that I needed like-minded or different people. So I started networking more. And then the podcast happened, which opened up networking kind of globally, which then became, obviously, man, if you guys don't take advantage of that, I'll tell you that it's just give. Like the simple answer is give. And honestly, that was John Hewitt. So then it was when it was his random message on LinkedIn, and then connected with him, and he sends me the I Compete book. And then I read the I Compete book, and he said something in the book. And again, there was, I think even in the book, he talks about, or somebody mentions him saying Jesus was his mentor, one of the franchisees of Liberty Tax or something. And then I was like, oh, man, okay. I've never heard anybody say that. And then I'm like, yeah, that's a good mentor. And then it was, I heard him make the statement in the book of his goal was to outgive his parents. And the drive for me for a long time, I mean, at the age of 27, I lived the pinnacle of the life that I needed to see, of having cars and things and money or whatever people chase. To know that like that, none of that made me happy at all. I actually hated myself more. So like, I knew like then, I didn't want that, but like, I didn't really know what I wanted. And then is really, I just loved the magic of this all, just things happening and being involved with business. But then I didn't really know how to do that. And then it was, again, listening to certain people and Tony Robbins of the world. Now they're able to be very philanthropical and be able to give money, especially give things. And that's my dream, is to just be able to give people anything and everything. And so then I thought, and I heard somebody, and I don't know who this is, man. I wish I could remember. I've looked for the video over and over and over and over. But you changed my world with this. Whoever gave this info out on YouTube. But they said their idea was to give, so they had some small business, and they thought, well, they'll just give a percentage. And this was basically based on faith. So they're going to give, even though they can't really, their business is struggling, this and that, they can't give. They're going to give. And they gave. And it was like, not only were they, but they, and I've heard those stories over and over again. I'm like, I can't give anything. I don't have 2 pennies to give at this point. COVID, all of that, and certain things. So then I'm like, well, what can I give? Well, I could give like what I'm doing. But I believe in people. I can support their things. I can support what they're doing. I'm just going to give that. And then it was John saying in the book, I'm going to outgive my parents. I'm like, I'm going to outgive God. I'm like, I'm going to outgive God. It's impossible. I know it is, but I'm going to try. So I'm just going to give. And so then literally, I felt like these past 2 years, I've been living the story and I don't know the story because, again, a lot of these stories and I've heard them over and over and over again from kindergarten to college. But whoever gives away all of his possessions and things and lives on the street, like that's what I felt like I lived that journey then. Like, okay, oh crap. This might be what that story, that journey feels like. And this sucks. But at the same time, I felt better about everything. And again, it was okay, Jesus, okay, this, and okay, maybe I'm questioning these ideas of this fairy tale, this story, but these are all making a lot of sense. Okay, Jesus, you're the mentor. And it was literally from that point,
So through
everything
all of this,
changed.
you came
Everything
to that
changed.
realization that it's not all about you, that you can't do this all on your own, that you're not perfect, and that we do need a savior for what's next and that next stage that comes after this life. And
Big deal.
and that's what this Christmas season is really all about, is that story. Um, I
That's
mean,
it.
this, we call the Bible a book. It's actually a library. It's 66 books, and it covers a lot of history. It covers poetry. It covers prose. Pretty much any genre you could think of is covered. Obviously, this time of the year we focus on the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. A lot of people focus on Luke at the Christmas time, and the Christmas story from Luke. But if anybody's listening and you don't know where to start this time of the year, just dig into the Gospels. Pick a Luke, pick a Mark, and go through, and then follow up with Romans. But what I was getting at when I said spiritual growth, just like we talk about our own professional growth, we say you need to be reading every day. You need a group of inner circle, group of mentors. You need a strong group around you. The same thing applies to your spiritual growth and your spiritual life. It's no
Mhm.
different. Every day there should
Yeah.
be some time in here. Every day there should be some time talking to God. And I know this is maybe somewhat controversial because it's real popular now to say I'm spiritual, not religious. I don't go to church, but
Yeah.
you need a faith group around you, because just like the business world, you got the arrows coming from every direction. Man, on the spiritual side, they're coming even faster.
Even worse, especially you get to certain levels. They're readily available.
Yeah, and again, from every possible angle, those things are coming at us, and none of us are strong enough to do this on our own, and we need to seek that out. And so, if you are seeking out somewhere to go that's a church home, I'll just give you a couple of pieces of advice. But the biggest one I think is, if you walk in and everything you hear is exactly what you want to hear, you're probably in the wrong place. You might want to keep looking, because we need to go somewhere that just like I want to be a part of with a group of business owners that are stronger and better than me, so that they challenge me to be more. I need to be around a group of Christians, if that's my faith, that are stronger and better than me. They can challenge me to be better every single day and to do more good every single day. Because at the end, I think you're right. This is the whole point of this season, is the idea that we have a model to follow for what it means to be good, do good, and
Yeah.
let's just try to live that model.
Exactly. I mean, I heard, and what sparked all of this, Coach, honestly, to even start this was this. There's these young kids on TikTok, and shout out to you 2 kids, man. I give you guys props. I love what you're doing, so keep doing it. But he literally, and again, I'm sure they're just doing it for clicks and views and to be controversial to a degree, but they might believe it in a sense too. But they're playing on the fact that the 7 deadly sins are very identical to the holidays and the way that we celebrate the holidays today. And
Oh yeah,
and
and,
the and the
and
re-
they're perfectly aligned with what the current, with what society, with what all marketing, with what everything is driving you to. They're driving you to that. And we've talked about finding a purpose and finding your meaning, and we even both kind of agreed that the if we can ever come up with the meaning of life, it's to figure out what your purpose is and start living into that purpose, right? Well, everything else is telling you that that doesn't matter. Live into these carnal desires, and that's where you'll find happiness. But that is not where you find happiness. You might find some fleeting joy, but that fleeting joy doesn't last over time. There's something, there's a hook in that bait that's going to get you.
Well, and that's where I'm glad you went there, because the intro, I got so into kind of setting that up that I wanted to touch on this too, because I've been beating up Grant Cardone in his trainings, but like there's a little bit of gold in some of his trainings with he made a statement that is so deep and so powerful that even the general manager had said it again, and that was one of his notes, and it was one of my notes that I heard him say. But he said, the stream will always beat the rock. Stream always beats rock, meaning that like it's consistent, and that's why it wins, because it's consistent. It finds the easy way around, and it's flowing, and you have to be free flowing in that way. And so there's a lot of deepness to that, and I was surprised to even hear him say that with some of the closes. But at that same point, like where what you're saying is this is the most powerful close. Like, guys, if you want close, if you've don't even know what closing or a close means, just be this your only close and make this your only close you ever need. But I think this is a life lesson along with a powerful close. But is Zig Ziglar, I'm almost positive it was a Zig Ziglar close that I learned. But it's are you more concerned with the price or the cost? And most people will say, well, what's the difference? And the price is a one-time thing. It's the instant, in this situation that you're talking about, it's the instant gratification. Or if you're selling a service or product, it's the upfront fee that, again, if you have a good product, service, and you truly believe it, then you're probably going to be more than everybody else. And so that's where it makes sense. But cost is over the lifetime, just like decisions, just like what we do, again, in life or in products, or what we buy or believe to go down, the cost we're going to feel for a lot longer.
Yeah, and we also talk about health being important when we talk. We've talked about the diamond and that sort of thing, and the health being at the bottom. Well, that's spiritual health, that's mental health, that's physical health. It's not just, but they all tie together. If your spiritual health is poor, it's going to show up in your physical health eventually. Maybe not right away, but eventually. And so you're right. There is a long-term cost into pursuing some of these things of the world.
Well, I love that you said that, because I think again, anybody who is watching this, if you feel like you're on that border of questioning if Jesus, if you can draw the line, say Jesus is your king and is your mentor, is the person you want walking beside. Because again, the shack was so powerful. Besides the book was the movie. So guys, watch the movie The Shack. It's literally, the way they even portray it is better than the way they portrayed in a lot of religions or churches, or people kind of portray it, that Jesus is this person who points or looks down on you as well. Jesus in The Shack, and in the movie especially, is the guy walking beside you as a friend, is just your guide and mentor, and is very much an equal in a lot of ways, besides being the only perfect one that ever walked here. But literally in The Shack, though, too, is they do a great vision with the dark. And what you were talking about is just like the dark is there in the bad thoughts of anything. And the more you're in here, you start to have that dark coming out of the boat, like Mac has in the movie. And that's where Jesus's powerful words in that moment in the movie, if you guys watch it, is he says, "Don't look at the boat, look at me. Don't look at the boat, look at me." And Mag is freaking out. And again, it was like boom, because there's so many times it was like, when I was kept focusing on the what ifs, the oh no's, the this could happen, the oh crap.
And the focus is internal. It's all about me. It's about me and my deficiencies, and maybe it's my ego that's too big or too small, whatever it is. But if we make it all about us, it's the same thing.
Always. And so soon as you start, oh no, okay, you got this, I need you. And that's why I don't know if you noticed this, and I don't know if my dad ever knows this, but so that's the footprints picture. And that's always been my dad's favorite thing. He's always been around anytime my mom sees the footprints. Poem and thing. My dad, that was a big thing for my dad. And that was one thing that again, so shout out there, thank you. But, and he might not have known that was a little secret message to me, but that was what I'd teach my advice to my son. Cooper is very much like me, very scared in a lot of ways. Anxiety and nervous of a lot of things. And so and definitely doesn't want me to yell or anybody to yell. So we'll almost not question. I'm already noticing that, not ask, even though he probably should. And that was kind of my issue when, that I talked about. But so I've told him though, and I've told him the same thing over and over again, because he has this kind of scaredness. If we're not around, if me or Maggie is not readily in view sight within a few seconds, is an instant nervousness, panic. And so I told him okay, listen, in those moments, just calm down, breathe, close your eyes, say, God and Jesus is with me, and mommy and daddy will be right back. And if you just can tell yourself that, and that was just from this, I mean, that was the message I always want to tap back to with this, was okay, oh crap, this is too much. Where's the other footprints? Where are they? And then I remembered, it's only his at those points. Yeah, we're never alone.
We're never in this battle alone. We have a fantastic protector, shield, savior.
Yeah, and that was the belief of that was the most powerful thing for me. Knowing that my belief in that, regardless of everything that I seen, everything, and that was what helped me in sales a lot until I found the chink in the armor, the not truth, the definitely you're hurting somebody by what we're doing or what we're saying or what this is. And as soon as I stopped believing, game over. That's it. I'd leave the company. I mean, that's why I've had 50 jobs and probably can't work for anybody, because culture and believing from the top down and it being actually truthful of what you're doing from the top down is very hard to find today, but is a tough thing to accomplish as well.
And so it sounds like too, a big part of your spiritual journey here has been seeking that sense of belonging and a sense of something bigger. It does seem like it's been a search for purpose. So as you've gone through that and where you've landed now, how does it feel different now that you've kind of gotten to this place?
So honestly, it honestly feels free. And I found a song that says no shame. I think it's called No Shame or something. So shout out to you guys. And it was yeah, that's exactly, it's, you really feel, and that's why I'm so big on authenticity. I know that I can say what I think or feel or believe, and I can choose to, again, thank you, Alex from Hosey, but the 3 non-negotiables, I switched ours a little bit, but I have the same. And if I know that I can stay strong to those, because I know that those are core to me. And if I don't feel those with whoever I'm with, I don't have to feel the guilt I felt before of why am I leaving that? Because I know it's just not right. And I know what I need. And so it's very freeing to know what I'm saying I believe, and I just want to find those same people, and that it's a lot easier to find that when you just, and again, hence why we're doing this whole Jesus is the reason for the season and just saying what it is. I struggled with that, and again I said what Tracy saying that even instant for a second was oh, don't say that, but then I was oh, yes, thank you. I'm glad. Okay, yes, please. I want people to say that now. But I didn't want it to be ever where it felt like it was for me, that somebody is talking down, because that was the power of the shack was in. So I'm going to give this away to anybody who hasn't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, it's a super old book and movie. So shame on you already. But so I'm going to spill it to you. But literally, so Mac this is the moment or the progress of just working through, and again, whether it was real or not, this is a story based on, I guess, a somewhat true story. But Mac's history is a lot like, I'm sure, a lot of people. My dad's history. My grandpa, was the oldest of 13. Probably didn't have great guidance of a male mentor. Clearly came here when he was 18. And my dad was the youngest of 9. So pretty much raised by my uncles and aunts that, were raised pretty tough, because my grandpa was an alcoholic basically until he had the last intervention, according, I think, to my parents, at 40 or 50, and then just stopped smoking, stopped alcohol, stopped everything. So I know that person. And it's funny, like, I took one of my uncles to the Browns game, and we're talking stories. I'm telling him how my grandpa used to take us to, like, the Indians games, because this was back in the day. Like, you could walk in. It was almost free. We'd go to the bleachers, and so my grandpa usually watches, and he's slamming them. And it's funny. He wasn't even the big Indians fan. My grandma was, but that's where tied the love, that clearly that bond is powerful, y'all. But
I have visions of the guys in the outfield in Major League.
oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it's empty, but it's us kids, and we're, oh! And we were just glad to be there, because again, I was kind of bored, and so like, to do that, and him hearing those stories is like, my dad did that. I'm like, yeah. But then I think people need to figure that out too. A grandpa is different than a dad. A dad is still learning and growing. A grandpa should hopefully have better ideas and a different view on the world by then. But yeah, so I got to see a different person, but there was, it was different there. And so it was the mix of my mom and dad, obviously, with that strong foundation that kind of connected things for me. But it was, again, back to the judgment, and it was in the shack. And so Max going into now judgment, basically facing judgment, where he gets to be the judge. And so God, at this time, I think, is a woman. And so it's funny, and this is what I loved about the shack too. The first vision of God is the fun. I don't know who she is, but African American Black actor. She's so funny, and she plays it so perfect, God. But and so she is first a woman, and then at a different point, God's a man. And Mac is even like, hold on, you what? It's like, God's not a thing, like, not a person. It's just what you need at the time to really guide you the right direction, is what it is. So and so judgment. Max going to judgment, where he gets to judge the ladybug killer who killed his daughter. And so this is where the shack hole leads, and all the story and all this. Ladybug killer, his 3-year-old, 4-year-old daughter gets killed by this serial killer named the Ladybug Killer. Took all of his to the same area. This was the shack. This is how they found the body. But so they're going to where the body is, but then also where judgment is. And Mac gets to judge. And so God's up there, judge the Ladybug Killer, and God says, I have to forgive him, and so do you. He's gonna pay for that eventually, but we have to forgive. And it was that. And then, because then God kept going, okay, judge your dad, who was the abusive alcoholic preacher. Judge now your kids who are thinking very bad things. And God then says, judge one of them. Your son and your daughter both have these very hard things and bad things they're going through right now. And one of them, you have to judge one. One is he's like, I can't. And that's where God says, I can't either. Those are my kids. I can't either. And then it was like, holy crap. And then that was where, okay, I could forgive a lot of people easy. I could believe in everybody very easy. But I couldn't forgive myself at all. And I definitely didn't believe in myself at all, is what I figured out. And that was the movie in the shack was like, boom, okay. Like, quit judging yourself so hard. Forgive yourself for all the bad things you haven't done, thought, or do any of those bad things you did as a kid or before or whatever. Like, quit living under that misery. And it just freed me from everything. So yeah, that was really it.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the key to everything is we didn't get Jesus because we deserved it. We explicitly got Jesus because we don't, and we had to have it to come in and create and become our Savior to to wash away what we are inherently. And our job now is to live the best and do the most good and live that transformed life that makes a difference in the world. We can be light to the world if we just are willing
Keep
are
out of the
willing.
shadows. Keep out of the shadows. That's the one thing that, again, that was so powerful in that. But he walked through complete darkness, and so Jesus walked him to there, and then he says, "I can't go. Like this is just you," and he had to believe him and walks through this, and it's just pitch darkness. uh, I'm sure people can relate a lot, a lot to that. And in those things, like that's where, again, there's so many things through sales, through sales trainings, through all of these things that's why I believe, again, that sales is a lot more than what people say it is. And true sales artists like Andy Paul, like you, who knows, like it is neurolinguistics. There is a lot more power to it. You can convince people to do a lot of bad things or dumb things if you
No,
know what you're doing or saying.
all those things are just tools. They can be used for good or evil, and I choose to use them for good. But I get challenged a lot because I'm a fan of Napoleon Hill's work, and
Yeah.
Thomas Troward and Wallace D. Wattles, and a lot of those thoughts are similar, and I get challenged with that. You can't be a Christian and follow Napoleon Hill. Well, Napoleon Hill talks about the ether and how we go back and forth through the ether. I just believe that that's through God. I believe it's through our Creator, and
Hmm.
so I can take those things, and obviously I won't agree with everything, but I'm going to take the good from it, and again, be the best I can be. And I think there's lessons that we're going to teach when we do our Think and Grow Rich study starting January. There's some things um, that can really transform lives. And if anybody's listening and you think, "Oh, that's not Christian. I can't believe you would even touch that book." Trust me, we're going to take the good. We're going to take the
I,
good.
I agree. I agree, Coach. So I said this on Bo's show, but I'll say it now. It was one of the notes I got from Earl Nightingale. It's strong and very powerful in even Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. And it's and it's what people need to believe, and it's exactly what you said with purpose. It's Les Brown. It's so many things all tied into. You can tie it. Les Brown says, I say it all the time, everybody's born unique. Unique is that gift. We all do have some gift. There's something, greatness, gift, whatever you want to call it, but there's something, a purpose, but there's something. And like he says, the richest place is the graveyard, because most don't even let that come out. The ideas, they just kill them. They let the world kill them. They let everything around them kill them. But
Yeah, we're
this,
we're we're born unique, but most die a copy.
die copies, yeah. And yeah, and this statement from, wrote it down word for word. Again, this was from that Earl Nightingale, Think and Grow Rich. But you wouldn't have the desire you have in your heart unless your abilities to achieve those already exist. And I was like, wow. Like, just think about that. If people really believe that, if you can believe those words and believe, so that whatever is telling you, man, I hate doing this, but man, I really want to do that. Or I think I could do this. Or I would really be great doing that. Or man, my life would be so different if you're feeling that. Like, that means you can do it. You just need to either find the right people, circle. Again, back to Napoleon Hill's words at the end of it: the right form a mastermind, condition your subconscious, or render better service or product. Like, just
And
give more.
before those things, we have to stoke that burning desire, because that's what Napoleon Hill says is the beginning of all success. Is it's not a want, it's not a goal, it's something much deeper, much more than that. It's a burning desire. And
Yes.
so that's what we have to stoke, is that burning desire within. Because everything that exists that has been created by man is the product of two creations. It first was created in the
As an
ethereal.
idea.
It was in the spiritual realm, the ethereal realm, and then it became reality. It's the reason when we're goal setting, when I say that the importance of writing down a goal is that becomes the first physical manifestation of a spiritual idea. And so it's the first really concrete thing you have is to write it down. And it's vitally important that we take that physical step.
Well, I
And so
think that's
those,
why the begin with the
hang on,
word. It's the Bible, or it's with a word, right? That's how this all starts, with a word.
in the beginning was the word. That's exactly right. Yeah,
However,
and
it has
God
to come out.
spoke all of this into existence through the word. Yeah, that's incredibly important. We are creative beings if we'll just tap into the creative powers that we've been gifted with. Spiritual beings gifted with an intellect, living on a physical plane. If we can tap into those three areas, we are much more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
I love how Wayne Dyer breaks it down. He says, what if we're not physical beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a physical experience? And then he
Uh,
also says the
I'm convinced.
ego. What if ego, and he calls it, is just your earth guide only? That's your ego, is the meat sack, is what he calls it. Is just this thing. And that was Wayne Dyer. Shout out to Dan. Thank you so much for connecting me to Wayne Dyer. But it was literally Wayne Dyer saying that was like, man, like that makes a lot of sense now. And again, my gift is belief. I can believe. I believe that there is a heaven no matter what crazy things I've seen, and believe that there's a reason to keep doing good no matter what, because I want to see what that's like. And so like, but at the same time, belief is hard for a lot of people because it gets so beaten out of us through everything and through life constantly. So I don't know how, and thank God for whatever. Thank you, God, for letting me keep belief no matter what. But it was that just he nailed so many things when he said that for me, because then if you can believe this is a game, you can believe this is the matrix, you can believe this is, and this is just, you can control this thing. Obviously there's only limited abilities, so maybe it's Madden, and you can only go so high in a character. And there's only certain attributes on certain things. I'm never going to be able to wish or believe or whatever myself 6 foot and playing the MLB like I wanted. But
Are you
like
telling me it's
literally,
not like Tecmo Bowl where Bo Jackson can do anything he wants to do and not be
no,
stopped?
no, I don't. It's nothing like that. But I think like if we figure out that it really is again, not as simple, but it can be simplified to your whatever that idea, that this burning desire is, you're just a few skills away or a few connections away, people. If you can think that, and now you think of it more as a game, and okay, who do I have to be? What does this character have to be like to get to that level, to connect with those people, or to learn that skill, or to get that new weapon, that new whatever, to get to the next level, to beat the boss. Like once I was able to start believing that, I mean, that's what changed everything for me. Like, okay, this is a lot easier than it even seemed like the whole time. Like, okay, like forgive myself. I know I'm gonna. If a human, and this was again another amazing author, but very simple idea, Rico Rikoski. So we'll have to have him on, and I'll have to get you the book. But Just Two Choices. He wrote this book, Just Two Choices. But it's literally he was a pilot. He was in the military as a pilot, then I think Air Force, and then ended up a commercial pilot. And he said, in the sky, and he has, even in the book, there's a lot of pictures in the book. So people who don't want to read, there's a lot of pictures. So it was great for me. but so he shows like the instruments, and shows like the view that he sees when there's just clouds. And he says, you don't know if you're going up, down, left, right. You don't know what direction, but except the instruments. And the main instrument is just like, are you going up or are you going down? Like that's like your guide truly in those moments. And then it was that, but then knowing, okay, just two choices. Well, there's this choice is either taking me where I want to go or where I don't want to go. And then again, I'm a researcher, so how many choices do the average adult make in a day? Over 50,000 choices a day. Clearly you're gonna make some bad choices. So don't beat yourself up. So that was like, okay, that's easy too. So as long as at the end of the day, my Zig Ziglar and I'm tracking, I'm not blindly getting there, but I'm
Right.
tracking and I know that I'm making the right choices or enough right choices, or at least knocking off the top 3 things every day that I want to accomplish. The other things,
and what most people don't understand is the bad result is better than no result, because you've got a result that you can learn and adjust
learn from. Yeah.
You know how to adjust now. So just keep moving. But
Yeah.
Because of the tech problems at the beginning, I'm really pushing up against the 3:30 appointment.
Yeah,
so
that's okay, and I got to go too. But yeah, well, if you want final thoughts, I hogged most of this, so please take us out with final thoughts, and then we'll just close it out.
I don't know that I really have anything else to really add. I've expressed my beliefs and my belief in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I just think that our mission here is to every day wake up and be better and do better every single day and be that light to the rest of the world.
Amen, Coach. And if you're questioning the decision, you're at the choice, you're really thinking about the choice, just follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have done to you. And if that choice is going that way, you're probably doing okay. But
amazing we simplified it, right?
Pretty simple. Thanks, Coach.
See you.
Who's to say I can't do everything? Well, I can try. And as I roll along, I begin to find things aren't always just what they seem. I wanna turn the whole thing upside down. I'll find the things they say just can't be found. I'll share this love I find with them.